If, like me, you've got kids and you're fed up with putting your hand in your pocket every 5 minutes, let me tell you about how HMRC could actually foot some of the bill for their pocket money. As a limited company owner, it's actually possible for your company to employ your kids and have the company pay them. And this can help solve the problem that every time you give them some of your own money, you've already likely paid corporation tax, followed by income tax, just to give them that money. But if the company pays them properly as an employee, not only does it not count as your income, but the company actually gets a tax deduction on the wages paid to them. So it reduces the company tax bill. So if, for example, we were to pay them around £12,000 a year, it's potentially a £3,000 plus saving to the company's tax bill, and your kids aren't going to pay any tax on it. Now, the disclaimer here is, in order for this to work, there's a lot of criteria to get right. This area is actually fraught with technical points, but in this video, I'm just going to give you the highlights. So firstly, one of the key tax points is it's worth noting that it's a common misconception that kids just don't pay tax. They do pay tax. It's just like every other taxpayer in the UK, they get around 12.5k a year tax-free, and most kids don't earn anywhere near that limit. And the key thing for this scenario to work is they have to genuinely be employed by you. They actually need to be doing things for the company in return for a fair pay. Now, in the modern day, the tasks can be quite wide-ranging, everything from social media support to being a cameraman to posting leaflets through doors, admin, you name it. There's a ton of options, but make sure you know what they are and then come up with a fair rate of pay for what they're actually going to be doing. If you imagine if you ever ended up in an investigation, you're going to have to say to a HMRC inspector with a straight face why you paid them what you did. And on top of the tax law points, you've also got the employment law points. So for example, unless the child is in something like entertainment, normally they need to be 14 plus to work, 13 in some areas of the UK. And on top of that, you might even need to get a council permit to employ them. And then you have to think that they'll likely be restricted to a certain amount of hours they can work in a day or a week. So much of the employment law and the tax points depends on their age. So when you think about the overall amount you'd like to pay them in a year, you need to consider what hours they're actually legally able to work. So whilst we're talking in the example about paying them £12,000 a year, it might not actually be possible given the fair wage and the hours they could actually work. So with all this in mind, a common scenario where we see it work quite well is when you have like a university-age kid that seems to be costing you a fortune, but actually they've got a bunch of skills that could help you in your business and earn their own money. I often talk about making things a company problem and not a you problem, and this is a prime example. You paying them is definitely a you problem. The company paying them is a much better scenario. Anyway, there's so much more to this, so make sure you do your research, but food for thought next time you have to stick your hand in your pocket. Please share it with anybody you think will find it useful, and I'll see you in the next one.